What's up, guys? Welcome to the Linecheck podcast. I'm here in the studio today with Debbie. Debbie is a chef, currently hosts a lot of workshops and classes at Kitchen Lingo in Long Beach. If you guys have ever heard of Kitchen Lingo, it is a cookbook store that has lots of used and old cookbooks as well as new cookbooks that are just coming out. They host all different kinds of classes. Debbie has done a sausage making class, fermentation, sourdough, and all.
Not fermentation. That's
not
fermentality.
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 Yes.
That's that one. Pig butchery class, sourdough class. We did a pasta class. Do some knife skills and knife sharpening classes.
A lot of things. A lot of classes.
I've been in the service industry.
That I haven't been able to keep up with all the different types of classes. Fair. But Kitchen Lingo is doing a lot of different classes, and if people are interested in learning different skills, definitely check it out on kitchenlingo.com. Or is that a thing?
I think he only has Instagram.
I was like .com.
I've kind of harped on that a couple of times. I'm like, dude, you need to have a website. But
www.kitchenlingo.com.
There you go.
I'm just kidding. I don't know. Yeah, Instagram. Check it out on Instagram. Anyways, Debbie is here in the studio today. Thank you for joining us.
I'm very happy to be here. Thank you.
How was your day today?
It's all right. Wasn't too bad.
Yeah.
Wasn't too bad. You know, everybody's dealing with the smoke and the fires and all that kind of stuff. So
yeah, it's just a little depressing.
It's a little depressing. So just trying to keep the motivation. Did a lot of cleaning today.
Yeah.
A lot of cleaning.
I've been doing that a lot this week too.
Yeah.
It's nice to reset the house. And,
absolutely.
You know, especially after like a long holiday and weekend.
Yes.
Whatever.
And it was a
cooking and all that.
Holiday,
yeah.
For sure.
Oh yeah. Yes, I know. So why don't you tell the audience a little bit about yourself?
So my name's Debbie Lancaster. I've lived in Long Beach now for about 4 years. I moved down here from Seattle, Washington, which is where most of my experience in service industry training is from. And I'm never really sure how to answer that question. I love cooking. I love teaching people. I like bringing joy to people through food and cooking, and started off in pastry. Went to Le Cordon Bleu for baking and pastry, because I was like, it's the last thing that people eat at the end of their meal, and it's got to be good, and that's the last thing they're going to remember, and that's kind of how it started a little bit, and then it just kind of went from there. So, yeah, just been in the service industry 17 years, and I just eat, sleep, and breathe it, really.
Passion.
People call me very blunt, and very straightforward and very serious, straight to the point, and that's all just from kitchens, and it's just migrated into who I am as a person. To be honest,
I get that. Working in the industry for 17 years is a very long time.
Yeah,
but you've obviously have grown through the 17 years and changed your situations of where you like work at and what you do and like doing these classes. You're definitely not working like 12, 14-hour shifts like behind the line. You're
just 10-hour shifts now.
Yeah, just educating and teaching people, which is great. I mean, I love teaching people too. It's very fun, especially when they don't have as much knowledge as you do and they're very curious.
It's very gratifying for sure. I think that I never really imagined myself teaching before. This is all Matt's fault.
Yeah.
Love you, Matt. No, I never really saw myself as a teacher. But now that I'm doing it constantly every month now, it's been a really interesting experience. I have a lot of my students reach out to me after the fact, especially about sourdough, and they have trouble with their starter, or they're like, why is my bread coming out flat? And I've literally talked to them for hours on Instagram, like figuring out what happened, and I mostly just want people to know that this stuff is not complicated. It takes time and experience and repetition for sure. Yeah. But it's not complicated. And anybody can do it. Yeah. Anybody can butcher a half a pig and fill up their freezers and be stocked for 6 to 8 months at $4.50 a pound. You know, you can make sourdough bread at home for literally $2. instead of paying like 12. Not to say don't go get sourdough bread from your local bakeries, because there are some amazing ones around here, but you can make them at home. And that's just what I want people to learn.
Yeah, it's not as complicated as it may seem, and
It's really
to give
not.
them the tools to be able to accomplish that is very gratifying.
It is. It's just a lot of people these days who work in the food industry, the newer bunch of people, they're lacking people who are willing to teach them. I've noticed quite a few chefs that I've actually worked with and worked for in Long Beach have told me straight to my face, like, I'm not a teacher. I'm not going to teach these green people how to work I'm running a business.
Yeah.
And I'm like, but you got to teach them. Like, I broke down a salmon one time at this one place I worked at, and one of the line cooks there got so excited because they had no idea how to break down a fish. I'm like, it's really easy. Like, here, like, I'll walk you through it. And I just did it with them every single time. And now they know how to break down salmon, and they can pass that on. So, yeah.
That's interesting.
It was mind-boggling to me that people didn't want to teach people. They don't want to pass it down anymore.
Yeah, it's like a weird gatekeepy thing.
Yes.
Where they want to hold. I mean, Long Beach is interesting.
Go ahead.
I've worked in Long Beach for my younger part of the career, and then started working in LA when I felt like I couldn't learn anymore in Long Beach.
Right.
Like, there wasn't enough higher expectation like restaurants here in Long Beach at that time. So I worked in LA, but I've noticed a lot of the restaurants in Long Beach are very gatekeepy on their success and who they are, and don't want to reach out and be like a community hub for like other restaurants. It's more like just themselves and, singling out themselves.
I couldn't agree
and
more
competing
with you.
each other for some weird reason, even though they have different, different roles.
It gets old real fast.
Yeah.
But I mean, there are people, there are chefs, there are bakers who do want to teach people and they want to expand. There's just not enough to cover the whole cooking population in all of Long Beach.
And I think also it has to do with taking that knowledge that they learn from, say, their chef they're working for, and wanting to grow from that restaurant and not stay there anymore because they've outgrown the restaurant. And I feel like since staffing is so hard these days,
it's so hard.
I think that might be a possibility into it. It's like they don't want to teach them so they don't outgrow the place and then leave and then go work somewhere better, like what I did in like 8 years ago, whatever, 7 years ago.
Yeah, and then they have to start all over with another person. Yeah, I understand. I get it. It's all hard.
I love teaching people, though. It's fun.
Right?
I've never taught a class. I don't know if I could do that. It's different.
See, I didn't think I could teach either, but apparently, according to everybody, it's been great.
Yeah, when I was like a CDC or a sous chef, teaching line cooks how to, cook a dish properly or techniques, it's very rewarding, and I love using metaphors, something that they can relate to. It's like if you played sports, it's like I don't even know. Like I say, kick a soccer ball, but I don't know if that's deal with anything with cooking. But something like that, and then they're like, oh, I played soccer when I was in elementary school, and I know how to. It's like the ball. I don't know what I'm going for.
Well, what I usually so as an example of like something I actually tell people quite often is people ask me like, why are you like toasting the rosemary and the garlic in the oil before you're making the sauce, like tomato sauce, for example, right? And I explain to them that like when you get a tea bag, those leaves and those herbs and whatever's in there has already been dried or toasted. The flavor's already been enhanced. So all you have to do is steep it in water. So when you're making like a sauce, you have to do that first part. And then you build on top of that. If you just throw garlic and rosemary in there, it's not going to infuse the sauce. Yeah. So that's the one analogy that I usually use for people.
That's a good one. Everyone knows how to make tea.
Exactly. Yeah. And then I've seen so many line cooks like think about it and they're like, oh, that makes sense. Got it. Yeah.
That's all it takes. You just got to you got to teach it where it makes sense. Because, a lot of cooks are afraid because they don't want to get in trouble, and
that's a big one.
And they want to. They just kind of assume, but asking questions and then knowing, the science or whatever technique behind it is what it really just is, and it makes it so much easier when you just understand it
Absolutely.
instead of guessing.
Yeah. I've worked at so many places where as like a line cook, you had to know how to do pastry, you had to know how to do butchery, you needed to know how to plate things and saute things and do all these things. And nowadays it's I don't know if it's Long Beach specific or what, but people are starting to become like, I'm a fry cook or I'm a saute cook and I don't know how to do this, or I don't know how to make a roux to make gravy or a mac sauce or anything like that. And I'm like, oh my goodness, what is happening to the industry?
That's crazy. I haven't worked in a restaurant.
How long has it been?
It'll be a year in February, but I haven't worked in a restaurant in Long Beach for like I said, like 7 years or whatever. So yeah, it's been a while. So I don't know what you're talking about. So when I'm ready to open a restaurant, it's gonna like, I'm gonna be like, whoa, what the heck? You don't know how to do that?
Yeah, it's been a little rough.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. I haven't talked to anyone about that. Just like not knowing techniques, I guess.
Yeah, techniques is a big one. It really is. I don't know when it got lost. I don't know when it stopped being like a normal thing to teach people how to just do basic techniques.
Yeah.
You know, not just like throwing all the prepared food into a saute pan and sauteing it all together and putting it on a plate, but how to actually like cook the stuff previously.
Actually, I did work at a restaurant right after the pandemic in LA, and we didn't prep anything. We were just line cooks. Like we come in, our table was already prepped out. Everything was in 9 pans and everything.
Yeah.
So we literally just jumped on the line and cooked.
So what did you guys do when you ran out of stuff in the middle of service? Can't just 86 things.
We definitely didn't do that. I would go, or someone else would go prep it, but there was like a million people working there.
Oh my God.
But yeah, the prep cooks did everything. And it was very interesting because I've never worked in a restaurant like that before where you don't prep your own station.
Yeah.
It was so weird for me. I was like, I want to learn. That's why I came to work here.
Right.
So I can learn how to make this stuff, not just like line cook it. It was interesting. Like I think the most I ever did there, and I only stayed there for a little bit because of that, and it was like super high volume, and I was like, I was 30 then, so like I'm like, I don't need to do this. This would be a great job if I was like 18, but like running around with like my chicken, like a chicken with its head cut off, was like not the type of place I'm trying to be at right now.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I think the most I ever did was just like toast pepitas, and I was like, that's all I'm gonna learn here. All right.
I know. I've actually noticed that people who get into their late 20s and early 30s, they start having a mindset of a chef, even if they might not be a chef, where they get bored. And they need to learn, and they need to be in new creative environments, and they start caring about things. I know when I'm doing something.
Time is running out.
Right. I know when I'm doing something, and if I don't care about what I'm doing, or if I'm not learning, I get bored out of my mind, and I just find new things to do because I'm like, I can't stand here and do this one thing over and over and over again.
Yeah.
And that's kind of why I started doing the classes, to be honest, was because I was like, I miss butchering half pigs and making porchetta, and I miss stuffing sausages, and I miss doing all these things. And there's not anywhere in Long Beach that I really know of that does all of that kind of different stuff where I could actually go and work and learn at the same time.
Is anywhere in Long Beach making their own sausages?
Not that I'm aware of.
I don't think so.
And I've been looking into it, and I have not found someplace. Because I'm like, I know how to stuff sausages, but do I know how to make blood sausages? No. I would love to find some place in Long Beach where I'm like, oh, I know how to stuff sausages, and I can do all of this other butchery and all this other stuff for you, but can you teach me how to make blood sausages? Because that would be super cool. And that's the kind of places that I really like to be involved with. And I just don't know of any. So I'm like, I got to start teaching people how to do this stuff because it's driving me crazy.
Yeah. Wow, that's interesting.
Right,
it's
if
good
you
to
really
think about
sit down and think about it, where is it? Yeah, sure, LA count? In Los Angeles?
In LA, obviously. Yeah,
obviously. Yeah. But here, no, and I'm not making the commute for a job to LA and back. It's just not going to happen. Too.
Yeah. I made sausages. I just don't have piping. But I can't think of anything.
Nope. Can't do it.
Interesting. Yeah, I feel like also a lot of places are not using like you said, they're not teaching cooks how to, do butchery and all the other stuff because they have, the prep cooks doing it beforehand, so they don't have to touch that.
Nope.
And time is, labor is a thing these days, trying to cut on labor. So it's like, there's so many variables
Yep.
that go into running and operating a restaurant and all these little things. And then also like there's missing points about being able to grow your restaurant and grow your staff. We can go into this for hours.
That could be an hour long. Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, let's talk about the classes at Kitchen Lingo. How did that start?
Oh, this is a super funny story.
Okay.
So I also run a small business of mine outside of the classes.
Okay.
I make cutting boards.
Oh, cool.
So
I did
all
not
the cutting
know
boards that you've seen, have you seen them in Kitchen Lingo? They're like on display there. You should go check it out. And yeah, but I make cutting boards. So I do woodworking.
So you're a woodworker.
Yes, I am. So I started making cutting boards. And then I mentioned it one time because we walked into Kitchen Lingo Books the very first week that they opened. Like I was just walking on 4th Street and I'm like, what is this place?
Yeah.
Oh my God, it's a cookbook store. And I went in and I started
blessed.
I started crying, like inside of his store. Never met him before, crying. And so then like a year after that, I mentioned like, oh yeah, I make cutting boards. And he was like, you should totally sell them in here. So then I came and I dropped off a whole stack of cutting boards. And Caitlin was there.
Caitlin Antonius.
Yes. And she was like, oh, where are you working? And I said that I was working at Long Beach Beer Lab, that I was the bread baker and the pastry cook there. And Matt was like, oh my God, you should teach sourdough classes here. And I was like, and he was like, yes. And that's literally how it started. And so we just started doing the sourdough classes once a month, and then it developed into all the other ones, the knife skills, the knife sharpening, and then I was like, I want to butcher half a pig. Let's make it work.
Yeah.
Then we're doing another one on the 25th of January, and the sausage class is on February 7th, and then the sourdough class on February 9th, but that one's already filled up.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That's so awesome.
Yeah, it was crazy how it happened. Was not expecting this in my life, and he was just like, let's do it. I was like, okay.
Sometimes that's the push you need,
Yeah.
Just someone to be like, give you the opportunity to do it and then just allow you to do it, and you don't know if you're going to be good at it or not.
Yeah.
But you tried it out.
Yep.
And it's been successful.
It has been. And it's been super fun. And meeting all these different people has been incredible. Really, it has been. Some of them have actually really touched me.
That's awesome.
After the class, during the class too, but after the class specifically, some of us have stayed in contact, and then I run into people outside of everything, and they're just like, oh my God, thank you so much. It was so much fun. I was like, crap, I'm going to cry right now.
Are most of the attendees of the classes from Long Beach, or are you getting a lot of outside
I think most of them are just in LA County. We did have in the last class, somebody drove here from West LA to do it. So that was pretty cool. I was like, oh, wow, thank you so much for coming. I really appreciate you. She's like, nobody does this in LA. And I was like, somebody's got to do it in LA. But thank you for coming to my class.
I feel so fortunate to have Kitchen Lingo in Long Beach and such close proximity to where I live, where I could walk there in 15 minutes.
Yeah.
And the only cookbook store that I know of is now serving in Chinatown, which was by Lasita, where I used to work. So I'd go to Now Serving on my breaks a lot and grab a book or just look through books. And I felt so honored to have a restaurant that I worked at for 4+ years, and then also going to Now Serving and being there. But now that I have Kitchen Lingo, next to me in my city is really cool, and I want to show the world or let everyone know hey, there's a cookbook store here in Long Beach that's really awesome. And I think what I really love about Kitchen Lingo is that Matt has so many old cookbooks, and I love history, and you can go in there and he'll tell you a story about a book that was published in 29 and tell you the history about it or what they were doing in that time. And I'm a nerd for history, so I love all that stuff.
I don't know how he does that. It's insane.
I retain a lot of information when someone teaches it to me, or if I watch something on YouTube or read about it. Yeah, like the one story that I remember from him that he told me was one of the Salvador Dali futurism cookbooks.
Yeah.
And I was like blown away. I was like, whoa, this was basically like Noma, like whenever, I don't remember what year Salvador Dali was around. Maybe, but yeah, they're doing like sensory tastings and like pitting a whole airplane fan in front of you while you try to eat an orange and then see if you still get the orange taste or something like that, or open a box with an apple but you don't have any sight and you have to figure it out. It's interesting.
That's very
But
fascinating.
yeah, Matt told me that. So like if you guys ever go in the Kitchen Lingo and you ask him a question about a cookbook, he'll tell you an entire story.
Expect to stand there and talk about it for like a good amount of time, because you will get into a conversation with him about it. It's what's the right word? It's so engaging.
Yes.
And the way that he talks about it is so engaging.
Yeah.
It's all very exciting. At the same time, it's very homey, and it's just very welcoming.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
It's been really great having him there.
Shout out to Matt.
Shout out to Matt.
I got a cookbook for Christmas. It's called Islas. It's about all the islands in the Pacific Islands and their different cooking techniques and dishes. And I'm half Filipino, so there's a lot of Filipino dishes in there from the Philippines, but also similarities to other dishes that are like in Colombia or Argentina and different places.
Okay.
And I was like, whoa,
nice.
this dish is just like a Filipino dish. I'm like, that's crazy. I didn't know that. And it was like an awesome cookbook. It's a great R&D book for myself.
When I moved down here from Washington, I lost a bunch of my cookbooks in transit. So I had to restart my whole collection. It's a whole nother story. Anyways, my favorite cookbook is called Polpo, Polpo.
I think I know
It's
what
a
you're talking about.
restaurant.
Yes.
And they had
It's
a cookbook.
Mexican.
Yes.
I think so. I think I even know what the cover looks like.
Yeah, it's a fantastic cookbook. And I just went to him one day and I was just like, if you can ever find this book for me, I would really appreciate it. I miss it. I can't find it anywhere. 1 week later, he got it in for me.
That's awesome.
And just gave it to me. And it felt like the best early Christmas present ever.
Yeah.
So people go in there sometimes. I've been in there and they're like, my grandmother used to have this book and it had this spiral thing, but not these kinds of spirals, these kinds of spirals. And it had this specific recipe about this chocolate thing. And Matt's like standing there with them and he's like, how do we figure out what this cookbook is so that we can get it to this person? And I think that's really special.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah. Everyone, please go check out Kitchen Lingo now.
I don't think he's open right now, so maybe tomorrow.
We're going to get to our last segment right now, which would be In the Weeds.
Ooh.
Yeah.
What is In the Weeds?
So pressure moment in your cooking culinary history. What's your most freak out moment?
My most freak out moment?
Yeah.
Can it apply to any kind of situation? Like, are we talking like tickets coming in? Are we talking about like dish? Are we talking like
could be anything that's related to working in the industry.
My most freak. Oh, I know it. Oh my God, this was a nightmare. Okay. I was catering a wedding at this restaurant that I worked at up in Seattle, Washington, and it was just a big restaurant. It was like a wedding venue, and somebody wanted their wedding at the actual restaurant. So I'm like talking with the bride. We're doing all this stuff. We get the menu done, right? I place the meat order, and veal bones don't come in for me to make jus. And so then I called them. I'm like, I need these bones today. They're like, they're going to come tomorrow. I'm like, okay, I'm going to be in at like 6 a.m. So at 6 a.m. comes, they bring the bones. I get it going. Somehow I managed to make it in time, right? And so we were in the middle of doing all of this stuff, and I had it, I strained it, and I took out what I needed, and then I left the rest in the stock pot to cool down. It literally been sitting there for maybe like 3 minutes. And one of my line cooks goes over, and he accidentally pours soapy water into the pot that of veal stock that I had been working on since like 6:30 in the morning. And then I just catered like a 300-person wedding, and it was what time was it? It was like 9:30 at night, and I sat down on the kitchen floor up against a low boy, and line chefs and line cooks know that feeling when you're just done and you just crash on the floor. I'm sitting there and I just start crying. And the bride actually walked into the kitchen because she wanted to thank me for the dinner.
Dang.
She sees me sitting on the floor crying about veal stock. That was my most freak out moment. That was my most because I didn't just need it for the wedding. I needed it for service for the next day, like regular service. So I had to order more veal bones in and do the whole thing over again.
Yeah, it's a process. It takes a long time. What did she say to you when she saw you crying?
She saw me and walked out of the kitchen.
Okay. I thought she was gonna say like, "Oh my God, you're so happy for me."
No. And I talked to her before I left. She was like, I wanted to say thank you, but I saw you crying. So I didn't see her walk into the kitchen.
Got it.
She just had done that and then told me after the fact that she had walked into the kitchen and saw me crying. And I was like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. She was like, what happened? I'm like, somebody ruined my veal stock.
She's just like, oh, okay.
I'm pretty sure it was
That's
bad.
funny.
Super embarrassing.
Wow, that sucks.
It was a thing.
Yeah. How many classes do you put on a month at Kitchen Lingo so the audience can know about this?
We're trying to do like 2 a month right now.
Okay.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. So it kind of varies. We're still trying to find the right niche of like what classes are the most popular. Like the pig butchery class went really well, but that's not going to be something we do every month probably. That's kind of more of a niche people who want to do that kind of class. The sourdough class is every month. That always fills up. Okay. Knife skills classes always fill up, but I want to throw in like the other classes, like the sausage class or the pasta class, or just random little extra ones. But yeah, we have a meeting this week on Saturday to start scheduling them quarterly. So like figuring them out 4 months ahead of time.
Easy.
Yeah.
All right. Well, you guys all heard that. It was a pleasure to have you on the podcast today.
Thank you so much.
Make sure you guys follow Kitchen Lingo on Instagram and then check out the classes that Debbie has for you guys and sign up for them.
Yep. And I post the classes on my Instagram as well. It's Love Perfectly Imperfect.
You heard that first here on Linecheck. All right, guys. That's all the time we have for today. We'll see you guys next time. Bye.
Sounds good. Thanks so much. Bye.